welcome to the Good Ground Heritage Garden. My name is Doria Hughes, and I thank you for coming today. I would like to first introduce you to our wonderful certified Monarch Waystation, which has mostly just all native plants here. The Monarch Waystation has all varieties of milkweed and other pollinator plants that are attracting particularly we're interested here tracking the monarch butterflies. This is one of our milkweeds. This is the swamp milkweed, and we have also the butterfly weed. And the milkweeds are very important to grow. You can grow this at home in your own gardens. It's very important because this is the sole host plant for the monarch butterflies. And if we're lucky, and if we look really closely, and there's one little guy over here, actually he's kind of a big guy. This is the monarch caterpillar, and he's munching away. He's really, really close to form his chrysalis. So we planted this plant just for him, and I'm super excited that he's enjoying that milkweed leaf. And all these plants here, all the pollinators, we encourage all the pollinators to come. They help pollinate our crops. As you can see, the bumblebees are thriving. There's wasps. We encourage all wasps, all bumblebees. They're beneficial insects. The wasps will come. They can come and they can eat pests, the caterpillars. They'll come and they'll grab the pests right off our crops, and they'll feed it to their young. So, you know, we're working well with nature, and we're encouraging and inviting all of them to come. So this is particularly the Monarch Waystation, and we have other areas in the garden. We'll come over on this section. So this is outside the fence. So we planted varieties that the deer they don't find is tasty to them. So these are safe to put here. And then the ones that we planted more on the inside of the garden are plants and natives that the deer might really find tasty. The zinnias are not native, but you know, these are an annual, and we planted this here for the butterflies. The monarchs absolutely love them. So in this case here, we intend on expanding the native pollinators garden with plants that, again, the deer really, really like. Also plants that might require a little bit more water we'll plant in this space. So this is a work in progress. I personally have a Monarch Waystation. I absolutely love it. My children love it. It's a joy. I go out in the garden every day, and my family, we can just sit there and just enjoy and love nature. The amount of life, if you have a pollinators garden, the amount of life that will come and just come to you and enjoy your plants. And you really, if you do plant one at home, you want to plant all seasons, because you do have some pollinators that would come early in the season. Through the fall, through October, even November, some of these pollinators. The monarchs. What's that?
I know they like dandelions.
Dandelions is one of those plants that absolutely you want to keep in your lawn. It's amazing for the pollinators. It's a great thing. I keep the dandelions. I love them personally. These plants here, these are asters. These are more of a late blooming plant. So once, you know, like the summer plants, like the milkweed is starting to fade, the flowers are fading. As soon as those fade, these plants should be taking over that for their nectar source. So these are New England and New York asters that are for our region. These are native to our region, and there's some goldenrods that you can see over here. There's sort of a yellow tinge. That's also, we planted that for the fall. So we're trying to plant for season to season. And also a good thing to know, if you want to plant, which we encourage you to plant at home. To have a certified waystation, all you really need is to designate 100 square foot. So you think about 100 square foot, that's only really a 10 by 10 spot. And if you do plant at home, you want to cluster your plants. So you want to cluster your plants in a group of where one plant is, let's say, 3 foot by 3 foot. Mm-hmm. When the pollinators are flying overhead, that's like a landing spot. They can see it more. So you really could encourage them there. And yeah, just that tiny little area, which is really like what, only from here, this little spot, you can plant that. You can even put pots around. You know, you don't mind that you don't really want to plant, you know, one plant over in that corner, one plant. It might look pretty for you, but the pollinators might not be able to spot it. So you want to try to keep it condensed. And sure, you can condense it on your porch with little pots. You know, even if you want, you don't necessarily have to have a square. You can even plant, you know, like pots all along this edge. Just as long you want to, it's better for the pollinators. There are a lot of them, like the bumblebees, they're very host specific. So they'll go, and they're great pollinators because they pick one plant. So they'll go over here and they'll do all the zinnias, and they're pollinating all the zinnias. When they're finished with the zinnias, they might go over to the goldenrod, and they'll be pollinating all those goldenrods. So this, you know, again, this is a work in progress with our volunteers. We plan on finishing this and planting this more in the fall, and the other plants that we have, we're going to plant outside by the bees. The pawpaw trees we planted here, they are native. We have 2 varieties of pawpaw. We're waiting for a 3rd variety. Once we have that third variety, they will they'll pollinate. And the pawpaws are, again, native to the region. They're amazing, and they have this fruit that tastes, I haven't been fortunate enough to taste one. One of our volunteers, she has pawpaws, and she says it tastes between a banana and a papaya, and it's still absolutely delicious. So these are young trees. A little story, she has the pawpaws here, and she knows that we don't have that 3rd variety that will readily cross-pollinate. So she actually brought pollen from her property. She stored it in a little cup. She took a paintbrush, and she came in the spring, and she pollinated all our flowers. Now, that is amazing. Sure, you could do that, but unfortunately, we had some pests that came in, probably raccoon, squirrels, and they got to enjoy the fruit. But, you know, we have next year. Only will bear fruit once a season. Early spring is when their flowers come. They are more the flies. There's a particular type of fly that's more attracted to the pawpaw fruit. Some avid pawpaw lovers, they actually leave rotted meat, which attracts the flies too. I don't think that's something that I would want to be having here. But naturally, I think with all that we have here and with the compost pile, I think just naturally we'll have the flies come and pollinate these plants. So as we encourage everyone at home to grow a pollinator's garden, besides the food and the shelter, which would be these beautiful nectar source plants and hose plants, of course, you want to consider water. You just can't have, bird bath is great for the birds, but with the pollinators and our bees, these guys are really small. So, like for example, we have a bird bath here on the ground, but you want to put some things in there for the bees and the butterflies to land on, so they don't drown. And the butterflies would love to land on this moist little log here, and they'll just suck the moisture right out of that. So definitely consider putting a water source for your pollinators. They'll be grateful. Instead of, giving away, all your resources, sticks, like we had this storm, you can use all that and you can replenish your soil. So what we did is we took decomposing logs, we layered first. The first layer would be logs, then you would put sticks. Again, we all collected all the sticks. We put sticks on top of that, plenty of leaves. So we took the carbon and we put the leaves on top. Then we put a nitrogen source. So the nitrogen source, we have seaweed, and we had permission to go down and we grabbed seaweed and we put that on top. And then after that, we took our topsoil, we put it back on top of that and mixed in a little bit of fresh decomposed compost. And then what that is doing is, as the material is breaking down in the soil, it's releasing all of those nutrients back into the soil. And not only that, which is amazing itself, is when it rains, all the material in the ground is absorbing that moisture, and then when a period of drought, it releases it back. So a lot of these plants have really thick, good roots because they're encouraged to go down.
I've never seen onions like this.
Yeah, these onions, they are ready to be harvested. So we have some volunteers and we're going to be doing that next week. And yes, anything that I have grown so far in the Hugelkultur beds have been a winner. It's been amazing. And they say that they can last for up to 30 years. The Hugelkultur beds. So they're pretty amazing. You can do it at home. You can put Hugelkultur beds in a raised bed. Here we wanted to just show the difference for people to easily identify or ask questions. Hey, what is that? Why is that not? You know, we love questions. We want to engage the community to come and learn. And there are some beds that are empty, as you can see over here. So this is where we had our garlic. We harvested that. And now we're waiting for the right time to plant for a fall crop. So that is coming very, very soon. You think, all right, well, we're in August, it's over, you know, planting. That is not true. We're going to plant again mid-August, maybe a little bit later, into September, and we're going to do another crop for a fall harvest. And another interesting thing I wanted to point out about the Hugelkultur beds is that they tend to be warmer than a traditional raised bed. As they're breaking down, they're warming the soil. So I find that we can even extend the harvest even a little bit more just in the Hugelkultur beds alone. So that, and we have asparagus here. We decided to take one of our beds here. This is not in the crop rotation.
I was going to say, how did you plan to do non-annual crops like asparagus? And
yes, so we have these 4 beds over here is going to be more perennial beds. So those are not in the crop rotation. Each crop rotation has a section of 4 beds only. And the herbs are not part of the crop rotation either. So we have asparagus. So this asparagus bed is going to be, this was planted in the early spring. And again, organic method is that we did, yes, it was a lot of work, but I have me, my son, my daughter, who's just 5, we dug a trench 18 inches down. And then Tony, he laid this wire mesh because the voles love asparagus roots. So this is going to keep that off, those pests out. And again, this should be thriving for many, many years to come. And as we have more donations, we will have more perennials. This is not a perennial, but I just wanted to use the space that we had. We harvested these seeds. These are Black Mountain watermelons. They're really tasty. If you went to one of our dinners last year, the fall dinner, we had these watermelons and they saved the seeds. And we do encourage everyone, all community members, to save their seeds. If you save your seeds for 3 seasons, that seed will then be genetically altered for your environment, for your ecosystem. So if we can encourage everyone, it's going to be better for the pests. It's better for the soils, the climate. So we absolutely encourage. So this is year 2. So we just have 1 more year to harvest for this particular seed. And we also, an important thing to remember is that you want to save seeds from the biggest and the best stock. So this guy, he's getting there. He can be about approximately 15 pounds. Pretty much every seed that you are harvesting, it needs to be over mature dried pod. For example, we had snap peas, which is where the trellis vine is there. We let the pods grow, the strongest plants grow until they were crispy brown, and then we harvested those. Seed saving can be very, very tricky because there are, let's say, here, chamomile. These are really tiny seeds, and you need to let them mature, dry on the plant. So there are methods where you can take, and they'll just fall. And it could be a blink of an eye and they're gone. So if you, let's say, take an organza bed, there's like all these little tricks of the trade, but they're so tiny that they just can go back in the soil. I don't mind. They can grow wherever they want. These are beautiful. We grow these for our companion plant to encourage pollinators to come. And another thing to know about seed saving is that you cannot just, let's say I have 20 varieties of lettuce or even two varieties of squash. They will cross-pollinate. So next year, if you go to replant those seeds, you'll have a hybrid of that, which might be the best squash you've ever had, but you can never duplicate that original mother plant. So that's really tricky. There's a lot of resources online in terms of seed saving. I didn't intend on saving these squash seeds, so you know, we had these donated to us, all these squash, and like you were saying, it was really hard to get seeds this year, and so we had seeds that were donated to us that we planted what we had, and you make the best out of that. But we're not going to be saving any of these particular seeds. We're saving over here. We had arugula, and lettuces are really tricky. They easily cross-pollinate. So the arugula was amazing. So we just I pulled all the other plants that started to bulb, but I just left our arugula. And we're going to be harvesting these seeds. And again, it's really tricky because as you can see, like they're already opening up. But hey, maybe I don't even have to plant the arugula. Maybe it'll just plant itself. Because we're going to be doing that coming very soon. Any more questions that you guys have? Or the Pollinators garden or monarchs? This is like my favorite topic.
How did you get your sunflowers to survive birds?
Oh, birds. I encourage the birds to come here. They can have the sunflowers. They will come once they go to seed. You can buy it if you really want to harvest. One head is, I'll quickly grab a head back up. There are so many seeds from one head. So I share. I will share with the birds, but you can take an organic bag and you can wrap it, but you have to make sure that it's finished flowering and pollinating, because the pollinators are what will help with the seed. But the goldfinches love it, and see, just one head. There's so many seeds in there.
Yeah.
So, you know, how many sunflowers are you really gonna?
I don't think we're gonna get any.
Yeah,
the birds ate a lot of the seeds from the ground, and then when I replanted, I left them in pots for a long time to get them like the stems strong, and then I planted them, and like the next day, all the leaves were something ate them down to like little stalks. So
okay, yeah, there's something that's called cutworms, and if they really love those, and chipmunks love them too. But yeah.
Sorry,
but thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming and seeing what's going on here. And I think next you guys are here to see the bees. So you guys want to go back?
thank you so much.
And we have some squashes. This is crookneck squash. Unfortunately, we had, you know, again, it's an organic garden. It's hard to keep all the pests away. Perhaps those are thinking it's like a raccoon, or maybe crows are coming in. So to deter them, which has worked so far, we're putting organza bags on some of the produce, and that is like a guarantee to keep, you know, like bugs away. I'm trying something different and seeing if it would work, and try to see if they would deter. And so far, it's deterred even the crows. For some reason, they're not liking. Sure, they can, like, you know, peck at it if they really wanted to, but so far, anyone that we have surrounded with their organza bags has worked. And we have some crookneck squash, summer squash. This is going to the pantry. This is wonderful, delicious variety. So that we're looking at to harvest those. Next on the list will be our potatoes. Probably in a couple more weeks, once all of the plants die back, we know that the potatoes will be ready to harvest. And I'm predicting up to 100 pounds of potatoes if all the circumstances were right. And so far, I don't see why we wouldn't have it. The plants were thriving and amazing, and full sun, and the irrigation was correct. So keep your fingers crossed. So that is that. We just planted a cover crop over here. And we planted in our 2 Hugelkultur beds. We planted some crimson clover. That's going to overwinter, and in the spring we can lightly turn in that organic matter, and that's like a green manure, a green compost, and it's going to continue to feed the soil. We could let it overwinter and then produce flowers later in the season, late spring. It loves the cool weather, and if we do that, we're going to invite the bees. The bees absolutely love it, and it's gorgeous, the crimson clover. So it's a win-win. So, and that also is going to help keep the topsoil from eroding in the harsh winters. And we want to keep topsoil is, you know, it's like gold. We need to keep as much topsoil as we can and prevent the erosion. So the topsoil, the cover crop is going to keep that from happening. And then we have some watermelons. Take a look at these guys. You look at this watermelon here and you're like, oh my gosh, that is ready to go. It's like pretty huge. I would say, estimate, this has got to be almost 15 pounds. It's huge. But it is not ready. I mean, yeah, you can look at the field spot and it is, you know, turning the yellow. We wanted a little bit more, this field spot. But the way to know if your watermelons are ready to be harvested, you're going to follow the vine, and you're going to, this little spring in here is called the tendril. When that first tendril by the vine, when that is crispy brown, that means that your watermelons are done growing. So that you know is a sure way that is ready to harvest. And I looked at all these guys this morning, and they are not ready. This is going to start bearing fruit. Once it starts bearing fruit, it's going to be really, really heavy.
Yeah, I'm not
What do you think about just tying them to the pole here instead
Absolutely.
of... Okay.
Is that okay? That's what we started. Okay.
Yep.
I'm getting happy.
So this is the Florida weave method here. And we're getting kind of to the end of really our arm height, I guess. These are indeterminate tomatoes, so they can get really, really, really tall. So you definitely want to support all these tomatoes. But this particular, we're doing 2 different methods. We're doing the Florida weave method, and we're doing the string method. So with this, the idea is each tomato plant, you're going to go weave in and out. This is going this way, and then this one you're going behind. This one you're going in front, behind. And then once you get to your next pole, you're going to wrap tight. So approximately every 8 to 12 inches we do this. Give it a good pull, don't be scared. And then on the other side, you're going to go on the opposite side, and that's basically holding and squishing the tomato plants together.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. At this point, they're so vigorous, it's kind of hard to see what tomato plant is what. And then with that last storm, it kind of,
Oh, I'm done.
this is a little,
That's
you know,
something
unstable. But all these materials we had donated to us, so we decided to use this method just to use, you know, to use the, not have to spend any money or buy
Right.
anything new. We're just using
Being
what we had
resourceful.
available. And again, with that storm, it's a little unstable, but I think we'll make it work to the end of the season. And then we'll go around and we'll, you know, everyone will give it a little more airflow. They're going to take off the suckers.